The judge said guilty, and Dominique Harris realized the man she loved had just chosen his pregnant mistress over the truth. The word hit the room like a slammed door. Guilty. Dominique's knees weakened, her fingers tightening against the edge of the table as if the wood might hold her upright. 2 years. The number echoed louder than the murmurs in the courtroom. 2 years of her life erased by a lie she didn't tell, backed by a man who knew her better than anyone else in the room. She looked straight ahead, but all she could hear was Jacob's voice replaying in her head. Calm. Steady. Convincing. Your Honor, my wife changed after she found out about the affair. She became volatile. I was afraid of her. Afraid. The word burned. Dominique had never thrown a punch, never laid a hand on anyone, never even raised her voice the way he described. She had cried. She had begged. She had broken quietly in bathrooms and empty bedrooms. But violent? Dangerous? That version of her had been invented, then spoken into existence by the man who once kissed her forehead every morning before work. The bailiff touched her arm. Ma'am, you need to stand. Her legs moved on instinct. Somewhere behind her, her sister gasped. Somewhere to the side, her father shouted Jacob's name. Cameras clicked. Papers rustled. The courtroom kept breathing, kept moving, while Dominique felt like all the air had been pulled from her chest. She turned her head just once. Jacob was crying. Not the kind of crying that begs forgiveness. The kind that comes from guilt mixed with fear. The kind that sacrifices someone else to survive. And in that moment, Dominique understood something terrifying. Love hadn't just failed her. Love had testified against her. What do you do when the person who knows your heart better than anyone stands up and tells the world you're a monster? What happens when 12 years of marriage becomes evidence used to destroy you? This isn't a story about crime. It's a story about trust, about what it costs when the wrong person controls the truth. Because Dominique wasn't sentenced because of proof. She was sentenced because the man who once loved her decided the truth was inconvenient. 3 months earlier, Dominique had been living an ordinary life. A respected high school counselor. A wife with anniversary plans bookmarked on her phone. A woman deciding whether this was finally the year to try for a baby. Her biggest worry had been why her husband kept coming home late. Why his shirt smelled like perfume that wasn't hers. Why his phone stayed face down on the counter. Then the midnight call came. A woman's voice, cold, confident, cruel. He loves me, I'm pregnant. You're just the wife. 7 months of secrets. 12 weeks pregnant. And a husband who cried in a parking lot, promised it meant nothing. Begged for forgiveness while already protecting someone else. Dominique left. She stayed with her sister. She tried to breathe. She tried to decide if 12 years was worth saving. Then the police walked into her school, in front of her students. Handcuffs, stares, whispers. The accusation was simple. Too simple. The mistress said Dominique pushed her down the stairs. Said she killed the baby in a fit of rage. Said Dominique looked at her and said, if I can't have him, you can't have his child. None of it was true. Dominique had been on a couch that night, eating ice cream, watching television, trying not to fall apart. Phone records proved it. Witnesses proved it. Her sister proved it. But the mistress cried on the stand. And Jacob confirmed the lie. The system believed him. Now Dominique stood in a courtroom, labeled guilty, chains waiting, while the life she'd built collapsed in public. As she was led toward the exit, she didn't scream. She didn't beg. She didn't even look back when Jacob called her name. She made herself a promise instead. She would survive this, and one day, he would understand exactly what he destroyed. If you believe truth always finds a way back, tap like now. This story is for you. Welcome to Stories by Mr. Morgan, where real consequences meet real emotions. Because this wasn't the end of Dominique's story. It was the beginning of something far more painful and far more powerful. Over the next 2 years, Dominique would learn how to live inside concrete walls, while the man who betrayed her kept sending letters she refused to read. She would refuse every visit, every apology, every excuse. She would harden in ways prison demands you harden, not out of anger, but out of survival. And while she counted days behind bars, something else was quietly happening on the outside. The same lie that put her in prison was beginning to rot the foundation of Jacob's life. The mistress he protected would reveal who she really was when the attention faded. The job he risked everything for would start asking questions. Friends would stop calling. Doors would close. Money would bleed away faster than he expected. The day Dominique walked free, Jacob would lose everything he thought made him powerful, and the final confrontation would not look the way you expect. So before you click away, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. And stay with me, because the truth has been patient, and it's finally time for it to come back. Dominique Harris stood in the doorway of her counseling office as the final bell echoed through the hallway. Lockers slammed. Shoes squeaked. Teen voices overlapped in nervous laughter. Another school day survived. "Miss Harris?" a voice called. She turned. "Yeah, Marcus?" The sophomore hesitated, then stepped in. "You really think I can still turn my grades around?" Dominique smiled, the kind that didn't rush people. "I don't think it, Marcus. I know it, but you have to decide you want it more than excuses." He nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll try. That's all anyone can do," she said, handing him a printed plan. "Come see me Friday." When he left, Dominique leaned back in her chair and exhaled. This was the part of her life that felt solid, predictable, useful. Kids trusted her. Colleagues respected her. Parents thanked her in grocery stores. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jacob. "Running late. Don't wait up. Love you." She stared at it for a second, then typed back. "Okay. Drive safe." Dominique glanced at the framed photo on her desk. Her and Jacob at the beach, arms wrapped tight, smiling into a sunset. 12 years together. Nothing about her life felt fragile. Not yet. Like if you believe trust should never be taken lightly. That night, Dominique plated dinner anyway. She always did. Habit. Hope. When Jacob finally came in, tie loosened, jacket slung over his arm, she was sitting at the kitchen island with her laptop. "Hey," he said, leaning down to kiss her cheek. She paused. The kiss landed close, but not quite. "Long day?" she asked. "You have no idea," he replied, opening the fridge. Meetings stacked on meetings. "You eat?" she asked. "Grabbed something earlier." Dominique closed her laptop. "We barely see each other anymore." Jacob forced a smile. "It's just work. You know how this season is." She nodded, even though she didn't. Later, in bed, he turned away faster than usual, phone lighting his face for a few seconds before going dark. "Everything okay?" she asked quietly. "Yeah," he said too quickly. "Just tired." Dominique lay awake listening to his breathing even out, wondering when tired had started meaning distant. Comment where you're watching from. This part matters more than you think. The signs didn't arrive all at once. They slipped in politely. A phone that never left his hand. Excuses that sounded practiced. One morning, Dominique held up a dress in the closet. "Dinner this Friday?" Jacob didn't look up. "This Friday's tough." "You said that last Friday." He sighed. "Do we have to do this now?" She dropped the dress. "I'm just asking, and I'm answering." That night, when he hugged her, the scent hit again. Sweet, not hers. "You changed cologne?" she asked casually. Jacob froze for half a beat. "No. Why?" "No reason," she said, though her stomach tightened. Later, she mentioned counseling. He brushed it off. Said things weren't that serious. Said she was reading too much into it. Dominique told herself the same thing. Love meant trust. Marriage meant patience. Still, something felt off balance, like a picture frame tilted just enough to catch your eye. Like if you've ever ignored a feeling you wish you hadn't. Costa Rica sat open on Dominique's laptop like a promise. "Look at this one," she said, turning the screen. "Private balcony. Rainforest view." Jacob nodded absently. "Nice. You okay with August?" "Sure," she smiled. 12 years. Feels big." "Yeah," he said. "It does." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I know we've been off lately. Maybe this helps us reset." He hesitated, then wrapped an arm around her. "You always think of things like that." "Someone has to," she said gently. Later that night, she saved the page, entitled the folder Anniversary Reset. She believed in fighting for love before walking away from it. She didn't know someone else had already made a different plan. The question didn't announce itself. It waited. It showed up when Jacob canceled again. when he flinched at her touch, when silence stretched longer than arguments ever had. Dominique sat on the edge of the bed one evening, phone in hand, staring at her sister Simone's contact. "You okay?" Jacob asked from the doorway. She looked up. "I don't know." He shifted his weight. "I'm doing my best. So am I," she said. "But I feel like I'm alone in this." He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was flat. "Maybe you're expecting too much." The words landed heavier than he intended. Dominique nodded slowly. That night, she packed a small bag. Not to leave forever, just to breathe. She told herself it was temporary. That space could fix things. She was wrong. Dominique's phone rang at 12:07 a.m., unknown number. She almost ignored it. "Hello?" she said. A woman laughed softly on the other end. "You don't know me, but I know you." Dominique sat up. "Who is this?" "I'm the reason your husband hasn't been coming home." Her chest tightened. "That's not funny. I'm not joking," the woman said. "I'm pregnant. He's mine. You're just the wife." The line went dead. Dominique stared at the screen, her pulse roaring in her ears. Then she looked at the clock, then at the empty side of the bed. For the first time in 12 years, she didn't wait for Jacob to come home. Dominique didn't remember deciding to drive. She only remembered the steering wheel under her hands, and the way the city lights blurred as she pulled into the office garage just after 1 a.m. The place was almost empty. Concrete. Echoes. A single row of security lights humming overhead. Jacob's car was there. Her chest tightened. She parked 3 spaces away and stepped out barefoot, the cold concrete biting her skin. She followed the sound of voices before she realized she was doing it. "Jacob," she said. He turned fast. Too fast. The woman beside him stiffened. Younger. Confident. One hand resting protectively on her stomach. "Dominique," Jacob said, his voice already breaking. "I can explain." The woman smiled faintly. "So this is her." Dominique ignored her. "You told me you were working late." Jacob swallowed. "I didn't know how to tell you." "How long?" Dominique asked. He hesitated. That was the answer. 7 months, he said quietly. The number landed without sound, without pain, without anything at all. Like if this moment made your stomach drop. Jacob stepped closer, hands shaking. It wasn't planned. It just happened. Dominique laughed once. It surprised both of them. 7 months doesn't just happen, she said. "I was lonely," he said quickly. "You were busy. We stopped talking." "We live in the same house," Dominique replied. "We sleep in the same bed." The woman shifted her weight. "Jacob, tell her." Dominique turned. "Tell me what?" Jacob's eyes filled. "She's pregnant." The garage seemed to tilt. Dominique grabbed the hood of her car, grounding herself. 12 weeks, he said. 12. She did the math instantly. Anniversaries. Dinners. Nights he came home late and kissed her forehead like nothing was wrong. "You knew," she said. He nodded. "For a month." "I was scared," he said. "I didn't want to lose you." Dominique straightened. "You already did. Comment what you think Dominique should say next." The woman finally spoke again. "He's choosing me." Dominique studied her. Calm. Certain. Untouched by doubt. "You're sure?" Dominique asked Jacob. He opened his mouth, closed it, then nodded. The words settled everything. Dominique felt no scream rise. No tears fall, just a quiet emptiness where love used to live. Jacob blinked. "Okay? I'm done," she said. "I won't fight someone who's already gone." She turned to leave. "Dominique, wait," he said, grabbing her arm. She pulled free. Don't the woman watched silently as Dominique walked past them, back straight, breath steady. Only when she reached her car did her hands start to shake. Subscribe if you're still with Dominique. Dominique didn't cry on the drive. She didn't cry while packing a bag. She didn't cry when Jacob followed her through the house, apologizing, promising everything, swearing he'd fix it. "You don't fix this," she said calmly. "You chose." She zipped the bag. "Where will you go?" he asked. "Somewhere I can think," she replied. At Simone's apartment, the door flew open before Dominique knocked. "Oh my God," Simone said, pulling her inside. "What happened?" Dominique set the bag down. "He's been cheating. She's pregnant." Simone froze. "Say that again." Dominique shook her head. "I'm tired." She sat on the couch and stared at nothing while Simone brought water, blankets, questions. Dominique answered none of them. Her body was present. Her heart was not. Like if silence can be louder than anger. The flowers started the next morning. 37 bouquets in 10 days. At the school, at Simone's building, at the car. Notes followed. Voicemails, emails. Tears pressed into handwriting. "I'll end it. I'll do anything. Please don't give up on us." Jacob showed up at the school once, crying in the parking lot until a staff member asked him to leave. Students whispered. Colleagues stared. Dominique felt exposed. Cornered. Simone slammed the door after the last delivery. "This isn't remorse. This is panic." Dominique stared at the roses wilting in a vase. "He's afraid of losing control." "And he should be," Simone said. That night, Dominique almost replied to one message. Almost. The police knocked the next morning. "Comment where you're watching from, because nothing prepares you for what comes next." Dominique sat on Simone's couch, phone in her lap, watching it light up again. "Jacob, please. Coffee. 10 minutes. I'll answer everything." She hadn't slept. Not really. The past week had been a blur of flowers, apologies, and the strange quiet inside her chest. No anger. No tears. Just a constant pressure, like something heavy resting where her breath should be. Simone crossed her arms from the doorway. "Don't do it. I'm not saying yes," Dominique said. "You're thinking about it." Dominique stared at the screen. 12 years doesn't disappear overnight. Simone softened. Neither does betrayal. Dominique closed her eyes. She pictured Jacob crying in the garage. The way his hands shook. The way he said her name like it still meant safety. "Coffee isn't forgiveness," Dominique said quietly. "It's clarity." "Dominique, tomorrow. Public place." The reply came instantly. "Jacob, thank you. I won't mess this up." She didn't answer. Somewhere deep down, something warned her this choice wasn't about healing. It was about timing. The police came before lunch. Dominique was mid-session with a junior named Layla, talking through college applications when the knock came. 2 officers. Neutral faces. Firm posture. "Dominique Harris?" "Yes," she said, standing slowly. "We need you to come with us." Layla's eyes widened. "Miss Harris?" "It's okay," Dominique said automatically, though nothing about this felt okay. "Give me a minute." "You can't take personal items," one officer said. Students lined the hallway, phones lifted. Whispers spread faster than footsteps. "What's going on?" a teacher asked. "Is she in trouble?" Someone muttered. Handcuffs clicked. Dominique's breath caught. "There has to be a mistake." "You'll have a chance to explain," the officer replied. As they walked her past lockers and open classroom doors, Dominique felt her name peel away from her, replaced by looks and guesses and judgment. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, Jacob calling. The officer took it before she could answer, like if this moment made you feel sick. Outside, cameras waited. "How does it feel?" someone shouted. "Did you do it?" Dominique lowered her head, not in shame but in disbelief. At the station, the accusation finally landed. Assault. Causing harm. Loss of pregnancy. Dominique laughed once. "That's not possible. I wasn't there." "That's a lie," Dominique said. "I have witnesses. We'll look into that." She asked for a lawyer. Hours passed. Paperwork stacked. Silence stretched. When Jacob finally arrived, his face was white. In the interview room, Jacob sat across from her. "They're saying I attacked her," Dominique said flatly. Jacob rubbed his face. "She's scared. She lost the baby. They're asking about your behavior lately," he said carefully. Dominique leaned forward. "What did you tell them?" Jacob hesitated. "Just long enough." Dominique leaned back. "That's how this starts." He looked away. The public defender arrived with a thin folder and tired eyes. "I'll be honest," she said. "This won't be easy." Dominique nodded. "What are my options?" "We fight," the lawyer said. "But the other side has resources." Dominique understood immediately. Jacob's money, Jacob's influence, Jacob's silence. Her phone was returned hours later. Missed calls, messages from his lawyer, from no one who could stop what was coming. As she was led to holding, Dominique realized the coffee meeting would never happen. Comment where you're watching from. This story is just getting started. The courtroom felt smaller than Dominique expected. Too close. Too quiet. She sat beside her public defender, hands folded, spine straight. Across the aisle, Jacob sat with his legal team. Tailored suits, organized binders, quiet confidence. He wouldn't look at her. The prosecutor stood. This case is about jealousy, about rage, about a woman who couldn't accept that her husband was starting a family with someone else. Dominique's jaw tightened. Her lawyer rose next, voice steady but thin. This case is about lies. My client was not present. She did not assault anyone. We will show, the prosecutor objected. The judge sustained. Dominique watched the jury. 12 strangers. Some avoided her eyes. One woman frowned as if already convinced. Jacob finally glanced over. Their eyes met for a second. He looked away first, like if you want justice for Dominique. The mistress walked to the stand slowly, one hand on her stomach out of habit, even though it was no longer flat for anyone to see. She dabbed her eyes. I was scared, she said. I never wanted this. The prosecutor guided her gently. Tell the court what happened that night. She came to my building, the mistress said, voice shaking. She was furious. She screamed at me. Said if she couldn't have him, I couldn't have his child. Dominique's breath caught. That sentence again. Perfectly delivered. And then, the prosecutor asked. She pushed me, the mistress said, tears spilling. I fell. I lost the baby. A murmur rippled through the room. Dominique shook her head slowly. No, she whispered. The mistress glanced at her, just once, and looked away. On the stand, she looked fragile, victimized, believable. Call Jacob Harris. Dominique's heart dropped into her stomach. Jacob walked to the stand, shoulders tense. He was sworn in, sat, cleared his throat. The prosecutor smiled gently. Mr. Harris, how would you describe your wife in the months before this incident? Jacob hesitated. She was different, he said. Angry, volatile. Dominique stared at him. Can you explain? The prosecutor asked. She threw things, he said. Screamed late into the night. I was afraid of what she might do. The words felt unreal, like dialogue from a bad play. Dominique's lawyer stood. Objection. Overruled, the judge said. Jacob continued. I tried to calm her. I suggested space. She refused. Dominique felt something inside her give way. Not loudly. Quietly. This was the man who once held her while she cried, who promised to protect her. Now he was building the case that would cage her. Subscribe for the next part. Mr. Harris, Dominique's lawyer said, standing. Did you ever see your wife strike anyone? Jacob swallowed. No. Did you ever report her behavior to authorities? So your fear only surfaced after your mistress accused your wife. Jacob stiffened. That's not fair. It's factual, the lawyer replied. Isn't it true you paid for the mistress's legal counsel? Dominique felt dizzy. The room swayed. She gripped the table, nails digging into wood. This was the moment she understood. He wasn't confused. He wasn't mistaken. He was choosing. The jury returned after 6 hours. Dominique stood as the foreperson spoke. On the charge of assault causing loss, we find the defendant guilty. The word landed without sound. Simone gasped behind her. Someone cried out. Cameras clicked. Dominique didn't move. The judge spoke again. Sentencing, 2 years. Jacob buried his face in his hands. Dominique turned toward him for the first time that day. Their eyes met, not love, not regret, fear. As the bailiff reached for her arm, Dominique straightened her shoulders and walked forward without looking back. The marriage ended in that room. So did the woman she used to be. Comment what you think should happen to Jacob next. The doors closed behind Dominique with a sound that stayed in her chest. A woman in uniform slid paperwork across a metal desk. Shoes, jewelry, hair tie. Dominique obeyed. Each item felt like a small surrender. "Any medical issues?" the officer asked. "No." "Emergency contact?" Dominique hesitated. "My sister, Simone Harris." A stamp came down. "Final." The officer pointed down the hall. "You'll be processed and assigned." As Dominique walked, she kept her face neutral. She'd learned that already. Eyes forward. No questions. No shaking. In a narrow room, another officer checked her name against a list. 2 years, she said, not unkindly. "You'll get through intake tonight." Dominique nodded. 2 years had stopped feeling like a number. It felt like a wall. When the door buzzed open, she stepped through without looking back. The cell was smaller than Dominique expected. A bunk. A sink. A toilet without privacy. Her cellmate glanced up from the lower bunk. "You knew?" "Yes," Dominique said. "Keep your stuff on your side," the woman replied, then softened. "Name's Carla." Carla nodded. "First night's the hardest." Dominique sat on the edge of the bunk and stared at the wall. The noise never stopped. Voices, doors, distant laughter. She folded her hands to keep them still. When lights dimmed, Carla spoke again. "What you in for?" Dominique answered honestly, "Something I didn't do." Carla didn't laugh. "That's a lot of us." Jacob came the first month. Dominique knew because the guard said his name. "Harris, visitor." She didn't stand. "I won't see him," she said. The guard raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "Yes." The second month he came again, and the third. Each time Dominique stayed seated, hands folded, face calm. Simone visited when she could. She brought news, appeals filed, witness statements reviewed. "He keeps asking about you," Simone said quietly. "He says he wants to explain." Dominique shook her head. "There's nothing to explain." At night she felt the ache of words unsaid. She didn't give them air. The letters arrived weekly. Apologies. Explanations. Promises. Dominique read none of them. Carla noticed the growing stack. "You gonna open those?" "No. Why keep them?" One afternoon, Simone visited with a new detail. "He says his lawyer pushed him," Simone said. "Says he panicked. Says she told him to back the story or risk charges himself." Understanding. Fear had guided him. Pressure had bent him. The mistress had fed that fear. "Doesn't change what he did," Dominique said. "No," Simone agreed, "but it explains the speed." Dominique nodded once. The truth got larger. The betrayal stayed. Months passed. Routine formed. Work detail. Meals. Count. Dominique learned when to speak and when to listen. She learned to hold her ground without raising her voice. She learned that strength didn't announce itself. One afternoon, Carla asked, "You angry yet?" Dominique considered it. "No." "Then what?" "Clear." At night, she wrote lists in her head. What she would do when free. Who she would be. What she would never accept again. The old Dominique, who waited, who softened, who explained, felt distant. This one survived. On a visit day, Simone brought documents. "The appeal's moving," she said. "And there's more." Dominique listened as Simone explained the pressure Jacob had been under. Threats. Deals. The mistress's lawyer pushing him to confirm her story to protect himself. "So he chose safety," Dominique said. "Yes." Dominique exhaled slowly. The picture shifted, not to mercy, but to clarity. "He didn't betray me for love," she said. "He did it to save himself." That truth settled deeper than anger ever had. Dominique folded the papers and handed them back. "Let's keep going." When the lights went out that night, she slept. Like if you believe the truth always comes back around. Jacob thought winning meant quiet. Instead, the apartment never rested. The mistress paced the living room, phone pressed to her ear. "I didn't sign up for this," she snapped, ending the call and turning on him. "You said this would be over by now." "It is over," Jacob said. "She's inside." "That's not what I mean," she replied. "I'm talking about the attention, the questions. People look at me like I did something wrong." Jacob stared at her. "You testified." She folded her arms. And I did what your lawyer told me. That word again. Lawyer. She laughed sharply. You promised stability. Jacob didn't answer. The silence landed heavy. The call from the bank came on a Tuesday. Mr. Harris, we need updated statements. For what? Jacob asked. Your exposure has changed, the voice replied. There are concerns. Concerns turned into meetings. Meetings turned into explanations. Legal fees had piled up. Supporting 2 households had drained reserves faster than expected. The mistress wanted reassurance. The numbers refused to cooperate. That night she scrolled through listings. We could move, she said. Somewhere better. Jacob shook his head. We can't. At work, conversations shifted. Meetings he once led were reassigned. Doors closed after he passed. A supervisor asked him to step in for a review. Just routine, they said. It wasn't. His conduct was discussed. His judgment questioned. The case came up without names, without mercy. This company values stability, his manager said carefully. Jacob nodded, hearing the distance in every word. When he returned home, the mistress barely looked up. Did you fix it? She sighed loudly. I can't keep living like this. Jacob stood there, briefcase still in hand, feeling the weight of everything he'd tried to outrun. Subscribe for the next part. The invitation didn't arrive. A charity event he'd attended for years passed without his name on the list. A former colleague crossed the street to avoid him. At a bar, someone muttered, That's him. Jacob left without ordering. That night he checked messages. Fewer replies. Shorter responses. He remembered Dominique's quiet strength. The way she'd refused visits. The way silence had followed him since. If you're still here, comment truth always survives. You'll want to remember this moment. Jacob stared at the screen, realizing reputation didn't disappear suddenly. It eroded, one choice at a time. Comment truth always survives. The mistress packed a bag. I need space, she said, not meeting his eyes. Jacob didn't argue. He didn't beg. When the door closed, the apartment echoed. He sat at the table long after midnight, the quiet louder than any fight. His phone stayed dark. No messages from work, none from friends, none from the woman he'd traded everything for. Jacob leaned back and stared at the ceiling, finally understanding what Dominique had known months ago. Some losses don't announce themselves. They leave you sitting alone, counting what's gone. Like if you want justice for Dominique, pack up. Dominique looked up from her bunk. What? You're being released, the officer said, effective immediately. The words didn't rush her. She stood slowly, folding the thin blanket the same way she always had. Carla watched from the lower bunk. About time, Carla said. Don't waste it. Dominique nodded once. No smile, no tears. At intake, papers were signed. A bag was returned. Keys, wallet, a phone that felt heavier than she remembered. The outer door buzzed. Sunlight hit her face. Simone stood just beyond the gate, hands shaking, eyes wet. Dominique stepped forward and was pulled into an embrace that said everything words couldn't. You're out, Simone whispered. Yes, Dominique said. I am. Across town, Jacob sat in a conference room with no windows. The folder slid toward him. We're terminating your position, the director said. Effective today. Jacob opened his mouth. Nothing came out. This is due to conduct concerns, another voice added. And pending litigation. Litigation? Jacob asked. Your former spouse's case is being reviewed, the director replied. And there are civil matters connected to testimony provided. Jacob's phone buzzed, then buzzed again. He didn't answer. When he stood, no one stopped him. No one followed. The hallway felt longer than it ever had. Dominique sat in Simone's car watching the city pass like something borrowed. Her phone vibrated. A message from her attorney. Charges vacated. Civil action approved. Another from a reporter she didn't know. Another from a number she recognized but didn't open. Simone glanced over. You don't have to read those. I know, Dominique said. I just want to see what's real. He lost his job, Simone said. And the review just went public. Dominique nodded. The weight shifted, not lifted. shifted. Outside an apartment complex, a woman dragged a suitcase toward a waiting car. The mistress didn't look back. Jacob found Dominique at a small cafe near Simone's place. She was alone, coffee untouched. "Dominique," he said softly. She didn't stand. "You have 5 minutes." He sat, hands clasped tight. "I didn't know this would happen." She met his eyes, calm, clear. "You knew what you were doing." "I was afraid," he said. "They said I could be charged." She pushed me. He froze. "I don't need explanations," she continued. "I needed truth. When it mattered." Tears filled his eyes. "I ruined everything." "Yes," she said. "You did." He waited for more. It didn't come. "I won't stop what's coming," Dominique added. "I won't protect you. And I won't hate you." Jacob swallowed. "Is there anything I can do?" She stood. "No." Dominique stepped outside. The air felt different, lighter. Her phone buzzed again. This time she answered. "Hello?" A new voice, steady, respectful. Someone Simone had mentioned. "I heard you were free," he said. "If you ever want to talk, no pressure, I'd like that." Dominique smiled faintly. "I'll let you know." She ended the call and started walking. Behind her, Jacob sat alone, watching the door close. Ahead of her, the day waited. Comment what you think Dominique should do next. Dominique stood in the lobby with a visitor badge clipped to her jacket, the hum of conversation washing over her. It wasn't the school hallway she remembered, but it felt close enough to steady her hands. The hiring manager skimmed her resume. "There's a gap," she said gently. Dominique nodded. "There is." Silence followed. Then the manager looked up. "Tell me who you are now." Dominique didn't rush. "I'm someone who can hold pressure without breaking. Someone who listens. Someone who finishes what she starts." The manager smiled. "We need that." When Dominique stepped back outside, offer letter emailed, she paused on the steps. The work wouldn't erase what happened. It didn't need to. It was a start built on truth, not permission. She texted Simone, got the job. 3 dots appeared. Then, "Proud of you." They met for coffee on a weekday afternoon. No rush. No expectations. "Thanks for calling me back," he said, setting his cup down. "I didn't want to assume." "I appreciated that," Dominique replied. He asked about her work, listened without interrupting. When she paused, he didn't fill the space. "I'm not in a hurry," he said. "Just wanted to see if you were open." Dominique studied him, steady eyes, relaxed shoulders. No sales pitch, no sympathy. "I am," she said. "Carefully." He smiled. "Careful works." They talked until the cafe quieted. When they stood, he didn't reach for her hand. "I'll walk you out," he said. Outside, the day felt balanced, not thrilling, not fragile, just real. Dominique returned to the courthouse once more. Not as a defendant, but as herself. The clerk stamped a final document. "You're all set." Outside, Jacob waited across the street. He didn't approach. He didn't wave. Dominique crossed anyway. "I won't be reachable after today," she said. "Direct everything to counsel." He nodded. "I understand." She held his gaze. "I'm not carrying this anymore." There was nothing left to say. No sharp words. No soft ones. Dominique turned and walked away. The past stayed where it belonged. On her first day at the new job, Dominique arrived early. She set her bag down, opened her notebook, and breathed. At lunch, her phone buzzed. "Want to try dinner this week?" No pressure. She typed back, "Thursday works." When she left the building that evening, the sky was clear. The streetlights came on one by one. Dominique didn't rush home. She walked, steady and sure, carrying nothing she hadn't chosen. If this story moved you, subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be remembered. Hit the subscribe button if you have enjoyed the story so far. Dominique sat on the small balcony that evening, city lights steady below. Her phone rested face down on the table. No alerts, no emergencies. Just quiet she had chosen. She thought about the first day back at work, the way her name was spoken without whispers, the way her chair fit, the way she didn't flinch when doors closed behind her. A message came through. Thursday was good. Want to do it again? She smiled and typed back, "Yes. Let's take it slow." Inside, Simone set 2 mugs down. "You good?" Dominique nodded. They stood there a moment, the past finally losing its grip. Across town, consequences continued their work without her help. Careers rebuilt themselves, or didn't. Relationships ended, or revealed what they always were. Dominique didn't need updates anymore. She had her footing, she had her name back, and she had learned that peace doesn't arrive loudly. It shows up when you stop bargaining with what hurt you. Dominique didn't win because someone else fell. She won because she stood when it mattered and walked forward without carrying what wasn't hers. When loyalty is traded for desire, the price is always higher than expected. It shows up in lost trust, broken paths, and doors that never reopen the same way. Truth survives delay. It doesn't rush, it waits. Integrity compounds. Quiet choices add up when no one is watching. And betrayal erodes everything it touches: reputation, security, and the belief that shortcuts stay hidden. Dominique learned that justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the simple right to live freely, to love carefully, and to build again without fear. If this story stayed with you, subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be remembered. Comment where you're watching from and let me know what you think about this story. Thank you for staying to the end. See you on the next story.